everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 226. Andrew Eisen here on my brand new computer, and my god, is my video card struggling to keep up. Okay, it's starting to wind down a little bit now. There we go. Oh man, that thing is bottlenecked like you would not believe. But it's working, things are working. I literally just finished, that's why we started 4 minutes late. I just finished rendering a new video. So, it's a debut review for Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. And it's like, hell, the second season of that is out. Yeah, I know, but I recorded that late last year, and then my computer died, so it's been sitting on my old hard drive for a while. So I spent a lot of this week, I don't have a hard drive cradle. They're not terribly expensive. I could have purchased one, so I just plugged it into my motherboard. I've been yanking stuff off of it, and moving the things over I need, and all my old videos and stuff. So I thought for the first part of the show today, I'd like to talk about all the crap that I've bought, and I've bought a lot of crap. Suzanne says graphics card like I can render for days. Watch me. Anime Momo, hello. Kyle Kraus from KNGI, who hosts this show. Oh, by the way, I rendered audio versions of the last few months of podcasts, so like episodes 214 up to last week's 225. And uploaded them, so they are now on iTunes. So if you prefer the audio version of the show, those are now available. So progress. We're making progress. Anyway, Kyle, who hosts the podcast, generously donated his old graphics card to me so I could at least get the computer up and running. Matthew says you need a better video card, but good luck getting one at MSRP. Oh yeah, you could get a video card. Anyone could get a video card. You're going to be paying 3 times MSRP, but you could get one. I find it funny, and I know I'm jumping topics here, but if you're a humongous dork like me, and you actually read tech reviews for video cards and stuff like that, what I've found particularly amusing of late is I was just reading a review for, I think, the GTX 3060, which is one of the ones I have my eye on. It's a newer card. I think the MSRP is something like $330. You really should not pay more than $350 for it. But you're not going to find it for anything less than $1,000. And what I find particularly funny is all of the tech reviews right now, all of them at some point say, look, I know you can't find the card. I know you can't buy it at MSRP, but here's the review of what it's like if you could find it or could afford it. So I find that kind of funny. Kyle doing okay? I would assume so. Matthew says blame all the people who only had tables who were forced to buy PCS because of the pandemic. Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that are going into why graphics cards are impossible to get at an MSRP right now. But beyond the scope of what I want to talk about right now, so since Kyle was nice enough to gift me his, that saved me a couple $100, which I'm going to have to spend at some point, but I think it's going to be a while, so instead, I bought a bunch of other stuff. So I bought a new camera mount. Now, what is that? Let me do a quick show and tell. Alright. Show and tell. It's like we're back in school. Okay, so here's my camera. This is what I shoot my YouTube videos with. And the mount is this thing down here that the camera locks into so that it stays in place. It's this plastic bit on the bottom of the camera, right? When I bought this tripod years ago, it must have come with the wrong mount because it was really loose in here and just rocked around. Of course, it sits on the tripod by itself, so once it's found its center of balance, it doesn't move, so it was never really a problem. But it does make me really nervous, especially when I put something like my teleprompter on it, which is heavy. So I measured it, and I found out that this was the wrong size. So I bought the correct size. It's a 44 millimeter. And see how this bit doesn't just snap into place. You actually have to push it into place. That's how it's supposed to work. So the camera doesn't move. Granted, that was like, $8 or whatever. But so now I have a correct camera mount. So that's one thing. Since I have it over here, I also bought a new tripod for my a microphone. Unfortunately, the camera is I record so you don't hear the camera motor. I record the audio externally, and I have to sync it up in my editor, which is a pain in the butt, but it makes everything sound so much nicer. But the camera tripod that this was originally on just fell into pieces. It was a really old tripod that my mom used for her camera back in college. So it was decades old, and it died a very gruesome, dismemberly death. So, new tripod for the camera. Camera mount for cooking segments. Nice thinking. Yeah, I can't really, I don't think I can use this, hook this camera up to my PC. I mean, I don't think so. I'd have to double check, but I can't use that as a streaming camera. So I could pre-record it, but the kitchen stuff I think is more fun to live stream, so I'd probably do it on the webcam. Now, this is the Logitech, this webcam, it's the CX 390 or something like that. Hang on. Don't know. Have to look in Device Manager. Let's see. What is that? Dumb skibbly doo wah. C270. That's what it is. So it's a 720p camera. I'm thinking about getting a new one, a nice 1080. Now, when I'm doing, like game streams, and the whole camera window is way down here and it's small, doesn't really matter. 720 is fine. But for these podcasts, probably would be nice to get a better quality camera. But that's $100. Well, 70. So I'm pushing that out for a little while. I bought a new capture card. I was using the... Where did I put it? Was using the Hauppauge, Hauppauge. I've had this one since the HD PVR2. I've had this since, God, like 2007 or 8. So I've had this one for quite a long time. It served me well, but time to move on and get a better one. So I bought the Elgato HD 1080 Pro or whatever the hell it's called. And that's an internal card that pretty much eliminates the lag, because when I was using that thing, it was about 1.5 seconds slow, so I'd have to put like a 1500 millisecond delay on my video and audio stream to get it to match up, and then it would eventually drift, which is a problem with the charity thing. There we go. So I'm gonna tomorrow. We're probably going to stream a PC game. So tomorrow at noon, we'll probably Trails from the Sky, And then next week, I'm going to try using my new graphics card to stream a console game. We'll see how that goes. Oh, also, that thing sits really close to the graphics card. I mean, there's like a quarter of an inch between it and the graphics card. I had to buy longer HDMI cables because my computer is here and my TV is over there. And that's only like 10 feet, but you don't want to stretch a cable unless you're bolting it to the wall, which I didn't want to do. This is an apartment. You know, you want it long enough to run to the floor, along to the floor, and then up to the TV, which I have mounted on the wall. So I guess I could just mount it. But it'd be really ugly to have an HDMI cable just bolted straight to the wall. So I really only needed about 15 feet, but there was a pretty decent deal on 3 20-foot HDMI cables. So I don't need that much length. I did need 2, didn't need 3, but I didn't need 20 feet. But if I'm ever in a new apartment or I rearrange my furniture, I've got some cable to play with. But the issue with that is an HDMI cable that large is really thick, so it's heavy. So what that did is when I plugged it, it goes into the graphics card on the back. Oh, goes into the graphics card in the back, and then so you get 2 of them that go into the graphics card in and out, right? Their weight was pulling the graphics card up like this. So it was bumping the graphics card above it. I'm sorry, the capture card. It had the 2 heavy HDMIs on it, so it was pressing it up into the graphics card's fan. So I had to use a piece of cardboard on the inside of my case to, push the graphics card back up, and one between my power plug on the back and the HDMI cables in the back, to keep the capture card down so it's not pushing up into the fan. What are we talking about? Hello, Chaos. Oh, webcams are sold out too? Lovely. Matthew bought a cheap 1080 for D&D sessions. Oh, cool. Oh, this thing? Yeah, this is old. IGN bought this for me way back in the day, so I could do video for the guides I was writing for them. So that was actually a really nice piece. No. I had a different one. That's the second capture device I had, and IGN did buy it for me, because the old one got too old. So maybe 2010 or 11 or something like that. Suzanne says they have cheap plastic cable hooks that stick to the wall. We used to use it. Yeah, I could do that, but I'd rather just run it along the floor and then up the back. But so far it works just fine. Want to do a little bit more testing before I try streaming with it, though. So camera, tripod and mount, capture card, HDMI cables. I told you I bought a new patch cable for to connect my wireless router to my PC, because the old one I had, the little plastic tab that locks it into the port, broke off. Those are only a couple dollars, so not a big deal. Bought a new shirt. Told you about this. The first one I bought, the sleeve was like, it was like this. I'm like, what in the hell? Because it was a 33-35, and that's what I normally have. And then I extend my arm, and the sleeve rides up halfway up my forearm. So I got one that was 2 inches longer, and then it was down to my knuckles. And so I got the one in between, and it seems to be the best one. So we're Goldilocksing it here. Let's see, what else do I have on my bot list? Oh, I have 2 new fans in my case. That's one of the reasons the case is so loud. Actually, it's not the new fans. It's the graphics card spinning at full all the time. So I put 2 new fans in the case and turned it on, and they were blowing backwards. Which was funny because I looked at the arrow on the side of the fans, that indicates the direction of the airflow, and they were blowing in the opposite direction. And I was really annoyed by that. I'm like, well, what the hell's the point of this arrow if it's pointing the wrong way? Suzanne said, yes, very distinctive from the other black shirts you own. Very fancy, yes. So I, unscrewed it and flipped them around and screwed them back in. It was fine. But when I took them out, I examined them closer, and I found in addition to the arrow that's pointing the wrong way, is another smaller arrow pointing the right way. I thought, well, then what the hell is the other arrow for? And it took me a bit, but I went, oh, you know what? That's not an arrow, that's a triangle. I think that's the indicator that says this is recyclable plastic. I thought I knew fans had an arrow on them pointing in the direction of the airflow, and I saw the recycle triangle, and I went, there's the triangle. It's pointing that way. That's the direction of airflow. No, it's just a recycle triangle. The actual arrows are much, much smaller and thinner. You almost need a magnifying glass to see which direction they're pointing. But at least they point in the right direction. I got new speakers. So here we go. Because my old ones died. And they were the speakers I bought with my first computer back in like 2001. So they lasted 20 years. And they completely died, and I'd been listening to everything through headphones for 2 weeks. But I got some new speakers, and they're working just Jim Dandy, so that's nice. Got a SD card reader. Just a little USB stick. The SD and micro SD cards stick into here, so that I can transfer the video from my camera onto my new PC. Thought about getting a USB hub, but I've got enough USB ports as it is, for now at least. So, this was fine. Although, for some reason, I'm not sure if it's this or if it's a USB 3.0 port in the front of my box doesn't work. The ones in the back work just fine, so I'm guessing it's the port. Maybe futzing around with stuff, I bumped the header that plugs into the motherboard, so I may have to go look at that again. Oh, another show and tell one. It's hang on. I also got for my new PC a electric air duster. So now I can de-dust my electronics. I got, I'm not going to go into the kitchen and grab it, but I bought another 5 pounds of protein. Now, I normally have a protein shake, and what I do is banana, half an avocado, ice, almond milk, and then blender it together, and then put protein powder in, and you got a protein drink. Now, sometimes, when I'm feeling fancy, I buy the banana almond milk. It's thicker and has more sugar in it, so, it tastes better. Well, I decided, because it was there, to buy the banana-flavored protein powder. So now I have banana almond milk plus banana protein powder. It tastes like banana. It's pretty good. Matthew says USB 3 ports are shockingly fragile. Lee Showron, hello. Don't recall your name here. Welcome. Yeah, I'm not sure if the port is the problem or if it's the header connection to the motherboard that maybe I jostled it loose, futzing with something. Really not sure. This is the case is the I forget what the designation is between the larger and the smaller one, but it's the small. It's probably micro or something, but it's the smaller version of the case, so things are much more compact. Uh, I've got larger hands, not freakishly huge, but large hands, so it's difficult for me to get in there. So I was thinking about the larger case, but my desk isn't huge, so I was like, let's get the smaller footprint. But it's working. Um, I also decided it's finally time to upgrade my editor, my video editor. I had been using Movie Studio 11, I think. So it's about 10 years old. um, Lee says, I don't think I ever came to your live stream before, but I said, oh, well, thank you. I hope you enjoy my output. So I splurged and I bought Movie Studio 17 Premium. And the only gripe I have so far, there's a lot of changes that I really, really like. The only gripe I have so far, other than where did they put this feature? You moved like the audio mixer is on the right of the preview pane rather than on the left, and I can't figure out how to move my panes if it's possible. I've only been playing with it today though, so or like yesterday and today. But the thing that bothers me the most is they went with a very minimalist color scheme. So in the version I'm used to using, the save button was an old floppy disk, and it was brown in color. And then the refresh button was green, and then the next button was blue. And so the different icons, not only were the icons different, but they had different colors. So they're a lot easier to just hit with your mouse real quick because you don't have to look at them too carefully. They're all grayscale now, and I don't like that because now I have to go, okay, save, or whatever tool I'm looking for, because nothing has any color. Now I see everything are micros are small case classification. Okay, I think I got that right. One of the easier designations for tech. Try explaining the GTX series designations to someone and make any sense out of, how the 1060, 2060, 3060, and then the TIs, and then the Supers, and then the 70s and 80s, and how all that crap lines up. God, it's nightmarish. But other than I would like a little bit more color in my UI. So far, I'm pretty pleased with it, and yeah, so 'tis good. So the money that I would have spent on a modern graphics card, I have spent on all that stuff, and I'm still going to have to buy a modern graphics card, but I'm not dumping over $1,000 on a modern graphics card. But I don't know how long I'm going to have to wait until we can all pick up graphics cards roundabouts MSRP. Who knows? So that's my week. So what do we have to look forward to? Well, as I stated, I finished rendering audio versions of the last few months of podcasts and uploading those. So those are available now on iTunes. So if that's your pleasure, there you go. From here on out, unless my computer breaks again, I'll be uploading an audio version of the show to iTunes. I'm working on a bunch of different video projects right now that I was working on before my computer broke. Some I filmed while my computer was broken. I just rendered out a new debut review. It's for Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. I'll probably post that Monday. Got a couple more debut reviews that I need to render. Got a new game fuss for Red Dead Redemption. So look for that in the coming weeks. I've got the Christmas video, the Christmas gift, the sibling Eisen sibling Christmas gift exchange video that I have to film. I've got an Andrew Eats fruitcake. I know that was supposed to be holiday themed, but my computer was broken. But what are you gonna do? Then I've got a bunch of other video projects that I'm working on, including one of the larger series that I'm thinking about producing that I'm still not entirely sure what the best way to go about doing it, because it involves a particular show that's on Netflix. And I'd really like to use footage from the show, but I really don't want to just run the show on my PC and screen capture it, and it's not available on DVD. So, not terribly sure what I'm going to do. Hello, Huxtable Studios. Welcome. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I'm excited about that series and really hesitant about it because I'm going to be very critical of a show that I really don't like and think is genuinely bad, but I want it to be fun, I want it to be entertaining, but I don't want it to be mean. Like, I don't want to make anyone who worked on the show feel horrible, but the show's objectively bad, so I'm going to spend at least 6-8 episodes or something like that talking about all of the myriad ways in which the show is not good and why and what it could have done different. That's my plan for it, but that's still in the planning stages. So, all right, so let us talk topics. And the first thing I would like to talk about tonight is Mr. Potato Head. I had a Mr. Potato Head when I was young. I don't recall what I really thought about it. Oh, goodness. Let me refresh this page. It seems to have plooped. All right. So, I have a point to this. I'm going somewhere with this. So, buckle up and hang on. So, let me read to you Hasbro's press release from 2 days ago. All right? Trust me, I'm actually going somewhere. I have a point with this. Okay. So, Hasbro is officially renaming the Mr. Potato Head brand to Potato Head to better reflect the full line. But rest assured, the iconic Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head characters aren't going anywhere and will remain Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. Launching this fall, the Create Your Own Potato Head Family is a celebration of the many faces of families, allowing kids to imagine and create their own potato head family with 2 large potato bodies, 1 small potato body, and 42 accessories. The possibilities to create your own families are endless with mixing and mashing all the parts and pieces. Create Your Potato Head Family is compatible with most standard Potato Head offerings and is a great addition to your Potato Head collection for kids 2 and up. Potato Head has provided endless creative possibilities to our preschoolers for almost 70 years, back when it was actually a real potato, and will continue to do with the new Create Your Potato Head Family. And, let's see. There it is. See up in the upper left corner of the box how the branding name is Potato Head and not Mr. Potato Head? Yeah, that was the change. They just changed the branding to Potato Head to encapsulate all of their toys. And over on the right is their new product, which is 2 potatoes and 1 baby potato and a bunch of stuff so you can make any family you want. Isn't that cool? Yes, it is. Awesome. Okay, so that's pretty simple, right? What did we just discuss? Hasbro is renaming the brand from Mr. Potato Head to Potato Head to better reflect the full line. Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head are still Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. Now, let me read you some of the headlines from major media, major news sources like, CBS and CNN. Not some jackass with a blog, actual major news sources. Here's how that was reported. Mr. Potato Head is no longer a Mr. Hasbro is giving the Spud a gender-neutral new name, Potato Head. A Mr. no more. Mr. Potato Head goes gender neutral. Mr. Potato Head is going gender neutral. Mr. Potato Head receives gender neutral name, drops title. Hasbro welcomes the new Potato Head, minus the Mr. or Mrs. Mr. Potato Head to lose Mr. title in gender neutral rebrand. Again, those are headlines from major news organizations like CNN, CBS, places like that, not random dipsticks with blogs or YouTube channels, idiots like me. I know what you're doing, news. You're purposefully riling up bigots for clicks. It's a shit thing to do. But here's the thing that I find even more galling. You don't have to outright lie, or at the very least in some of the headline cases, deliberately mislead in order to piss off bigots. In this case anyway, you could just tell the truth. Because Hasbro is making a family-friendly children's toy that allows kids to create their own family. Whether that be a mom and a dad, or two moms, or two dads, or anything else. Bigots hate that because they're bigots. You don't have to lie about what Hasbro is doing in order to make the bigots mad. They're going to be mad either way. But when you do what you've done and lie about what Hasbro is actually doing, you might have noticed that the phrase gender neutral does not appear in their press release anywhere. In fact, the word gender and the word neutral do not appear in the press release anywhere. When you do what you did and you lie and mislead, not only do you piss off the bigots, you piss off touchy people like me who insists on honesty in his news. So don't do that. Because it chaps my ass. Lee says, I don't trust Fox, though, because most stuff isn't really news they report. Well, yeah. Yeah, there are all news organizations you should hold to a very high standard. You shouldn't take anyone's absolute word for anything. I mean, it's kind of sad that you can't trust anyone. But yeah, there are definitely some news organizations that you should just flat out not listen to because they consistently lie to you. And yeah, that's one of them. The truth is a long-lost concept to almost all media. But I mean, that's the weird thing. Is here, let me see if I can do this. Let's turn off my webcam. And we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4, align that up. I think it's this one? Yeah, let's watch the video. I don't know if the sound will come through, but let's try it. Kaboom! Oh, it's just Potato Head now. It's only 30 seconds. So here's the new product. And it looks like the desktop audio isn't coming through, so I'll have to work on that later. So there we go. That's it. See? You could just report on that. Oh no! Little children can make a family with 2 moms or 2 dads! Ah! See, you're gonna piss off the bigots with that. You don't have to lie about what Hasbro's actually doing. Don't lie! Stop lying! And again, I want to point out that the headlines I wrote, those were mainstream media headlines, not titles of YouTube videos from jackasses like me. Because I did look up some of the YouTube video titles, and they're even worse. So, this is going to destroy Toy Story. Alright. So, that's the last angry Andrew thing. I've been shying away from stuff that irritates me, like the 6 Days in Fallujah news. I get all puckered when video game companies like Ubisoft lie about, there's no politics in our military shooter about a resistance group rising up against an authoritarian fascist government. There's nothing political about that. That just frost my cookies. I hate that. And the company behind 6 Days in Fallujah is doing something pretty similar, and I don't have joy in that, so we're putting that to the side. Not going to talk. Hope the game's good. They're definitely lying about no politics or political perspectives because that's impossible. But I hope the game's good. It could be a genuinely really worthwhile piece of interactive software. I hope it is. Just don't lie about potato children toys, and don't lie about your video games. Just don't lie. Like if you're gonna lie, or if you feel that you need to lie, just don't. Or talk about something else or something, Anyway. Hey, let's talk about Pokemon. I don't play Pokemon, the mainstream games. Some of the puzzle games have been fun, like, Pokemon P-Cross and the Pokemon-themed Panel de Pon 1, whatever it was called. Pokemon Attack? I don't know, whatever. Of course, it's just a game with the Pokemon theme, but and Pokemon Snap was fun, but none of the mainline Pokemon games I've really cared about. I just don't enjoy them. I like Pokemon as a franchise. I think the monsters are cute. I thought the Detective Pikachu movie was fun, but I'm not really into the games. So I grew up with Pokemon. Well, Pokemon came out in, 96? I would have been 16, so I guess I was a little old to get on board. But Pokemon's for anyone. I think it's cute, but so it's not really the brand or the cuteness or anything. I like cute things, but it's really just the gameplay is never called to me. So, with that in mind, let me tell you what I thought of the Nintendo Direct, or the Pokemon Direct, or the Pokemon Presents, whatever it was called. It was 20 minutes long, and it started with a self-congratulatory back-patting session covering the 25 years of Pokemon's very storied history. going through all of the games and the gadgets and the stickers and the trading cards and the mobile stuff and the printer and everything Pokemon, from the first Pokemon to the new Pokemon. They just recapped the last 25 years to celebrate its 25th birthday. So it's interesting. It was fine, but I was born in 1980, so figuring out how old I am based on the year is pretty easy. And I was born February 1st, so you don't have to do much math. It's like I was that age throughout 11 of the 12 months. But my biggest observation about this 20-minute Pokemon Direct is the first 5.5 minutes are the aforementioned congratulatory back pat. They spent over a quarter of the presentation just bragging about their storied history. Worth bragging about, honestly. It is many storied, as stated. I think that segment could have benefited from some judicious editing, a nip and tuck here and there. I mean, they mentioned the trading cards like 3 or 4 times. You could have condensed that a little bit. But here is the desktop audio is not coming through, I don't think. But let me see if I can get this to work. Says there's Vaporeon. Let's try throwing it a fluff fruit, says the narration. The narrator says, there's Vaporeon. Let's try throwing it a fluff fruit. That's an apple. That is clearly an apple. I don't know why you've got to call it a fluff fruit. It's not like anyone's copyrighted or patented or trademarked or whatever you would do with an apple. Apple is in the public domain. That is an apple. I don't know why that bothered. That's the other thing that stuck out to me. Let's give Vaporeon a fluff fruit. That is an apple. I mean, if you wanted some weird alien fruit, just make something new. But that is an apple. And that was the Pokemon Presents presentation. Those were what I took out of it. The self-congratulatory back pat took up over a quarter of the runtime. 5.5 minutes of a 20-minute show. And fluff fruits are apples. It's just an apple. I reminds me of some early NES games where you would go into a restaurant and have a milk or juice. And it was so obvious that, well, I mean, when you were 8 years old, it may not have been obvious, but at least today it's obvious that that was supposed to be a bar and that was supposed to be beer. I mean, it almost feels like, does someone have something against apples these days? So, I think it's Diamond and Pearl are getting remakes, so cool. I don't care, but, cool. Pokemon Snap, I like Pokemon Snap, so Pokemon Snap is cool. And then there's Pokemon MMO or something, so it's supposed to be coming out next year, and I don't know if the low frame rate in the animation of some of the Pokemon is a stylistic choice. I mean, it looks like they're animating on 4s. You saw the Spider-Verse thing where they were animating on 2s, every other frame, and it gave it kind of that stop-motion look. This looks like just an early build that they have some bugs to work out, and some of the Pokemon aren't animating smoothly yet. Could be the case. Doesn't come out till 2022. probably summer or fall of 2022. But yeah, there's your Pokemon stuff. So Lee says with the Japanese show they called the rice balls sandwiches and stuff because they didn't want to edit the food, but don't know why they do. Yeah, I've seen stuff that happen in a lot of late 90s, some early 2000 localizations of like anime and stuff like that, where the characters would be getting I don't know, takoyaki or something, but the dialogue, the dub would say pizza, and they're clearly not eating pizza. That's not what pizza, we know what pizza looks like, but it's like, oh, no one knows what takoyaki is, and it's like, yeah, probably not, but they figure it out by looking at it. You could, like, I don't know, teach us silly Americans something, get us all cultured and stuff. Luckily, they don't do that much anymore, so that's nice. Did I hear that the new Monster Hunter is coming to PC as well? I did. In fact, Monster Hunter was next on my list, I think. Yes. So, yeah, Monster Hunter Rise is coming to PC sometime next year. So, am I going to wait until it's on PC because it'll probably look better on the PC? Almost certainly no, because I want to play it now. For one, because it's going to be at least a year before it hits the PC, and two, don't want to play it on the PC. And I don't imagine it's going to be that much significantly better. I mean, it'll probably perform a little bit better, but I doubt it's going to be like a full generation ahead. It'll probably just look a bit nicer. You know, sharper textures, runs at a smoother frame rate, you know, that kind of stuff. Actually, outputs in 4K and stuff, you know, stuff like that. But I also don't want to play it. I want to play it on my TV. I don't want to play it on the at my desk in front of my PC. So, yeah, I'll probably still play it on the Switch. So anyway, that's nice for those who want to play it and don't have a Switch. So you got to wait a year, unfortunately, but you know, at least you'll have the option a year from now. Some more news I heard is that the decorations are now craftable, which thank goodness, because there were some decorations that I never got to drop. Like I think one of the shield decos never dropped for me. Luckily, one of the last updates in Monster Hunter World / Iceborne was the ability to craft some of the rarer decos, and the one of the shield decos was one of the ones that I just never got to drop. So I'm happy about that. It's because, I mean, you hear about these awesome builds and you're like, oh, cool, yeah, but I don't have enough attack decos for that. I've just got one that the game gave me. I've never had one drop. I actually was pretty lucky on attack decos. I had like 7 of them. So I had... I don't think I had one of the attack plus deco, the one that's 2 points in attack. I don't think I got one of those. I did get a hard defense one, which is 3 defense in one 4 slot gem. So, Arcus game coming out next year acts like the Arcus movie. Oh, that's probably... I would not be surprised. There's like... what's funny is the that congratulatory backpat Pokemon thing. They mentioned trading cards, like, as I said, trading cards 3 or 4 times during that, but I think they only mentioned the movies like once, and there's like 25 movies. Well, I meant they had like one cartoon movie and the live action movie. But I'm like, you mentioned trading cards 3 or 4 times. I'm surprised you didn't mention the animated features a few more times, but yeah. But there was one thing that I wanted to point out about Monster Hunter. So here is one of the new... where'd I put it? Here's one of the new monsters. Almudron. He has a swanky mustache. I like him. He's pretty cool. Now, one of the neat things about Monster Hunter is slaying monsters and building a pair of pants out of their parts. And what's really neat is All the armor sets, you look at them, and you know what monster they came from. Well, Capcom has kind of busted. Hey, Warren, Capcom has kind of busted that mold, at least in my opinion, because here are the armors from Almudron. Now we saw these back in back in January when they were showing the different weapons, and you've got these weird, especially the female armor, the one on the bottom, this weird robot cat looking thing. She's got the ears and the tail, but both of them are very cyborg looking, and they've got, these bold yellow and red highlights. I Even when they announced Almudron a couple weeks back, I did not put together that these were the Almudron armor sets. That was actually confirmed on the Monster Hunter Twitter this week. Um, huh. I mean, they're cool. Robot catsuit. I love it. But, I mean, I would never guess that. I don't get it. I thought this might have been like one of the artisan suits or something like that, but no, those are the Almudron armors. Where's the yellow come from? I mean, you've got kind of a dull red in some of its highlights and its mustache, and I guess the the lighter gray of the robot suits is kind of the same coloring as Almudron, but yeah, I would have liked an armor set. I like these armor sets; they're really cool, but I would have liked something that a bit more clearly said Almudron. Here is. Let me. Here we go. Here's the video that they posted on it. It said, "Suit up for action with this sleek Almudron gear." So here's a better look at it. There's the male armor set. A little tight in the crotch. There's the female armor set. Again, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't see Almudron out of this. There's the doggo, Robo-Dog, and Robo-Cat. So, pretty awesome, but I'm not seeing Almudron in that. Again, I like the armors. Robo-Dog is cool, Robo-Cat is cool. I play a female hunter, so the Robo-Cat suit is super swank, but I am a little bummed out that at least so far, I mean, maybe Almudron is a secret cyborg monster and it goes into a phase 2 where it covers itself in armor plating and starts glowing yellow or something. It's possible we just haven't seen enough of the monster to really draw the connection between it and the armor set. That's possible. Or maybe the designers were high that day and they're like, this has nothing to do with Almudron. It's like, yeah, I was just watching the Guyver yesterday or something. It's like, well, robot catsuit, whatever, it's cool. So, Lee says, I've never played the game before. Well, of course not. It's not out yet. But I know what you mean. You mean the franchise, Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is getting a lot. With each new game, it gets easier and easier for new players to get into. It's still really difficult for new players to get into. So, I recommend it. Do keep in mind that the type of action game it is the fighting can be very similar in some respects to things like the Dark Souls series, in the sense that button mashing will get your ass kicked, because a lot of the weapons are very slow and deliberate. You push the attack button, your character goes, so you really have to time your attacks and commit to moves. So for someone expecting like Ninja Gaiden or Devil May Cry or something, it's going to feel very sluggish and non-responsive. But if you go into it understanding that that you have to plan your moves and anticipate the attacks that are coming so you can get out of the way and into a good position where you have the time to smack it in the face with a swing that takes a second and a half. So, word of warning. Also, the games are... Monster Hunter World did a much, much, much better job than any of the other games so far, and I don't know how Rise starts, so maybe it'll do even better. But these games are notoriously slow to start. Longtime fans of the franchise can often be heard saying to new players, just, you gotta stick with it. Give it a good 5 hours. In the more modern ones, don't give up after the first 20 minutes. You gotta give it a good several hours before you really get the hang of it. So Monster Hunter is definitely something you have to want to get into and take the time to really understand. It's not something you can just try for 20 minutes to see if you like it. No. Clear your afternoon or evening or whatever and make sure you have several consecutive uninterrupted hours to futz around with it. And definitely don't be shy about asking the Monster Hunter community for help or explanations on the game mechanics, because as new user friendly as the games continue to get, they can still be particularly opaque in some respects. So, all that said, I still recommend the games. I love them, and if you give it a try, I hope it's up your alley too. Reverend Werewolf, hello, said, heard that Almudron is supposed to be based off of a weasel. I think that's why the ears on the female armor look the way they do. Okay. Wonder, it's not a weasel tail that female armor has, though. Where is she? Yeah, that's not a weasel tail. That looks like a cat to me, but you never know. Most of the Monster Hunter games usually release these gigantic coffee table art books. The latter ones, I think, have been translated, which is nice because they're really, really cool, and they have all kinds of neat behind-the-scenes stories describing the designs, especially with this new game with a lot of Japanese mythological creatures, like the kappa and stuff like that, influencing some of the new creature designs. I find that stuff fascinating. Not just, hey, the design is cool, okay, I'm done. No, it's the design's cool. What's that based on? What's the history? How'd you come up with it? Why did you go with that? I love that behind-the-scenes stuff. It's why I like, DVDs. I like knowing how things work. I loved they had a series decades ago about some masked magician guy who was exposing the secrets of magic, and some people are like, "Oh, that ruins the fun." Not to me, it doesn't. I love knowing how it works. In fact, I appreciate the tricks even more when I learn the creativity and ingenuity behind them. It makes me like them even more. That varies person to person, though. So, okay, it is 8 o'clock. So did I get through all of my... Oh, no, Sony's State of Play. Like the Pokemon Direct, what is it, Pokemon Presents, nothing really stuck out to me for the State of Play. Let me look at the... let's see. Crash Bandicoot is getting some PlayStation 5 stuff. Like, it's the adaptive triggers are going to do stuff, and 3D audio. So, okay. And the page just died. Refresh. No, I don't want to subscribe to a newsletter. Gall darn it. Darn it to gall. Alright. Returnal, which has one of the best names, showed some more footage and it looks a bit bullet hell-ish. Um, Also looks like it might be doing a roguelike kind of thing where the environments change every time. I'm not sure if it's scripted or if it's truly random. I'm not a big fan of randomly generated environments, so that might be a demerit from my perspective. Knockout City, we saw some more of. I talked about that when it was shown during the Nintendo Direct last week, and it had this weird intro that was more interesting than the actual game. It's a dodgeball game. It might be fun if you're into that sort of thing. I liked Super Dodgeball back on the NES, but or was it Super NES? I think it was Super NES because it's Super Dodgeball. That was fun, but this is it's not, it's a multiplayer deathmatchy kind of a thing, so it's not really my speed. Sifu was interesting. It looked like Marvel Netflix hallway fight the game. I'm not. I would have liked them to go a bit more into what the hook of this game is. It appears like the more you get your ass kicked, the older you get. So the older and more battle scarred you are by the end of the game shows how much of your ass got whooped. Maybe that's what they're doing. I'm really not sure, but it's a fighty fight game, so could be fun. Who knows? Solar Ash. Everyone, the generalization. Everyone says, "Oh, it looks so amazing." I'm not seeing it. Maybe I had to play Hyper Light Drifter, another one that I look at and I'm just not seeing what's special. It looks kind of like what's that one with the gal with the bow and arrow and the eagle who just runs through environments and shoots targets to boost her speed? That one looks kind of like that. You just run through the environment really fast. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. Oh, we got an actual look at the new Five Nights at Freddy's game. The problem with that game is the more high fidelity it gets, the less creepy it is. It'll be interesting to see if it manages the jump scares and such that it's known for with full open 3D environments that you can run around with the characters actually animated and chasing you. But I appreciate them trying new things, so, go for it. So, let's. Oh, you're East Coast, huh? Okay. Or 2 hours? No, 3 hours. So you're Central, I guess. Oddworld. Is that not out yet? Seems like I've been looking at Oddworld Soulstorm for quite a while, but it looks like Oddworld, so good. Kenna Bridge of Spirits looks cute, I guess. I also heard it's only $40. I don't know why they didn't plaster that all over the. Because I was like, maybe it'll be fun. But then you say, and it's $40. I'm like, oh well, hey, that. I look at. I'm like, it's got a nice cartoony aesthetic that I like. It's colorful, but I'm struggling to remember anything about it other than it's cute. And then Deathloop, been seeing this one for a year or two. It's still a thing. And then Final Fantasy VII Remake gets a I think it's a PS5 exclusive side story starring Yuffie, one of the two, right? Um, so, hey, get Central, yeah. East Coast is get this Eastern time. um, yeah, that was the State of Play. It's a funny name. James. Hey, James. Oddworld's been pushed back way too many times. Nice to finally have a solid release date. Yeah, it's April 6th. Yeah, that can be a problem with some games, and I know that's why a lot of publishers are reticent about announcing games. It's one of the reasons why Nintendo often won't announce things until like it's releasing within the next year. There are certainly some exceptions, like we know they're working on Breath of the Wild, we know they're working on Metroid Prime 4, but a lot of times they'll be like, here's Splatoon, and it comes out this spring, and you're like, or ARMS, or one of those guys. I had no idea. You know, other times, because what can happen? It's like, hey, we're working on Oddworld Soulstorm. And then 5 years later, we're still working on it. Stuff happens. Global pandemic, yo. What you gonna do? um, what do I think about? Ask Chaos. What do I think about Sony closing Japan studio? Yeah, I read about that. I don't know. I'm that strikes me as a downsizing cost savings measure. You know, I don't know. It feels like one of the things where Sony's not as um, out and out abrasively awful like Activision is or EA is in this kind of stuff. But it feels like if this were like EA or Activision, it would definitely be one of those. But Sony's plays its cards a little bit closer to the vest in this respect. So, but it still feels kind of like the CEOs who pull in millions and millions of dollars a year want to continue pulling in millions and millions of dollars, and in order to do that, they're going to have to make some cuts, and that's why a studio is closing. When they could have just said, you know what, let's keep the studio open and we'll just make less millions this in the next year or two. Still making millions and millions and millions, just a few millions less this year and maybe the next. And we still have a studio that still makes games. Stadia, on the other hand, was just an utter failure. Um, of their own making, partially. Um, but Lee says Sony is a big company owning games, movies, and electronic stuff. Chaos says strikes me as they want to allocate resources to Western AAA games. Um, Maybe I don't know. I'd have to. The thing is even if you are arguing that that studio's games were niche and weren't AAA worldwide blockbusters, not everything can be. Not everything should be. You need the smaller niche games. The games that aren't going to sell 16 million copies or last for 8 years, like Grand Theft Auto 5. So if that was the case, and it may very well be, because that does definitely sound like a short-sighted video game publisher kind of thing to do. It's like, your games are selling and are profitable, but they're not super profitable. I mean, everyone loves you and your games are very popular, but only within a smaller segment. They're not as broad audience as we want them to be. And what they don't seem to understand or just don't care about, seemingly, again, I'm just some guy in his living room, is that if every single one of your games was a humongous AAA worldwide blah 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 blah, there's only so many dollars in the world. There's only so many people with hands to wrap around controllers. We can't play everything. We can't afford everything. We don't have the time to play all of these games. It's literally impossible. If you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're going to say, well, let's get rid of some of the, the games that only sell 1 million or 1.5 million. Everything has to sell 6 million plus. That's not sustainable. A lesson that has been taught multiple times over the game industry's admittedly short life. But it has been taught multiple times over that short life. And they just don't seem to learn it. Again, don't know if that's fine theory, and it's something we have seen before. Don't know if that's the case here, but if it is, that's probably not a great idea. Embrace, have your big AAA, huge budget, wide audience thrillers, but you also need the smaller niche stuff. Because not everything can be huge. Some things got to be small. And that goes for movies, too. Not everything can be these humongous, 1 billion earning summer tentpole things. You need some of the smaller movies, too. And movie studios have oftentimes will demonstrate that same myopia. Says guy sitting in his living room who, if he had all of the answers, one would think he'd have even more DVDs than that. So, let's see. Matthew says, well, that studio's track record sales-wise wasn't great. Possibly, I don't know. I haven't looked up the... It's actually hard to get accurate sales information anymore, but I don't know. Yeah, Gravity Rush 2, which was... the Gravity Rush games are good. They're really good. They're probably pretty damn cheap on the PlayStation Store, so, I mean, if you can pick them up for $5, do it. They're good. I think so, anyway. There's a difference between niche and fails to sell. They weren't profitable. That's another thing, and then maybe, I don't know if, I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't know whether that's true or not. But the point I want to make is the larger AAA multi-million-dollar earning huge gigantic blockbuster games and movies should help subsidize these smaller, more niche titles so that it doesn't matter if they weren't profitable or not. And a lot of the way that the companies measure profitability is suspect in the first place. We, of course, all remember... Jesus, who was it? I think it was Square Enix back in 2013 or whatever, and they're like, we only sold 3 million Tomb Raiders. It was such a disappointment, only selling 3 million. It's like, what? How much did you spend on it? I mean, seriously, if your game sells 3 million copies and you are legitimately in the red, it's not that the game didn't sell well, it's you mismanaged the damn thing. But yeah, that's the thing about the smaller budgeted, more niche titles. They are not going to be the huge sellers. Now, if they don't sell at all, and now it could be the case that their games just were selling like 5,000 copies, and just like literally no one was buying them. I don't know. But when you're a company the size of Sony and you have a bunch of different development studios, you can afford to have smaller, more niche titles that don't light the world on fire. Be bold, be experimental, and if it doesn't work out, That's okay because it's going to have its audience that's going to love you anyway, and you never know where the next big thing is going to come from. You can't honk. Um, you can do this with some franchises like GTA, but you can, or any Marvel movie for the most part. But with new IPs, you can't just go, I'm going to make a 12 million selling AAA humongous blockbuster. I mean, you can hope it does that, but you can't just make one of those. It either happens or it doesn't. Just make the best games you can. And again, I still think that these gigantic blockbuster games, like the Grand Theft Autos of the world, Grand Theft Auto 5, which has made hundreds of millions of dollars over the last 8 years that they've been selling that game across every platform imaginable, probably the Switch too at some point. Um, one would hope that Rockstar would, Take-Two publishes it, right? So that's a larger publisher that owns several studios. So they should use the profit from that game to help subsidize smaller, more risky games that probably aren't going to be huge sellers, but they might. You never know. Got to try it. Put some money behind it and see what happens. So I think it is detrimental and short-sighted to, if the case is, oh well, your stuff isn't selling 10 million copies per game, so you know I mean, again, if they're not selling at all, well, okay, I maybe help them. you know but I'm not privy to I'm spitballing here because obviously I'm not privy to the inner workings of a company on the other side of the planet from where I'm sitting. But yeah, it is a shame because that studio did produce some games that I quite like, and it's always a big damn bummer when people lose their jobs. Hopefully they land on their feet. It's not a great time to lose your job. So, doop doop doop. Reverend says, "I see you have the same Freddy Krueger collection." Oh, where is it? Yeah, there it is, right there. Nightmare on Elm Street collection. Says, same Krueger collection I have. What do you think about the labyrinth you have to go through to watch the special features? I love it. I'm of two minds about it. Um, on the one hand, spider. On the one hand, very tiny little spider. I'd turn the camera around to look at it, but I don't know if you'd even be able to discern that that's actually a spider crawling up my wall. Oh, and it falls off right when I turn the camera around. Nice. Now it's on the floor somewhere and I'll never find it. I'm of two minds about that interactive. For those who don't know, this Nightmare on Elm Street box set came out, Jesus, 15 some years ago. So it did one of those things that were kind of popular with DVDs at the time, where they had this really elaborate interactive mode where you'd press directions on the DVD. This is a TV remote, but you'd press the up, down, left, right buttons to navigate through like a house, and you'd highlight different objects in the house and click on them, and you'd get to see little special features, interviews, behind the scenes clips, deleted scenes, alternate takes, all kinds of stuff. And it has so much, this particular the Nightmare Labyrinth has so much personality and obviously so much effort and work that went into it. I can't help but admire it. And the design and aesthetic is on point. So, but at the end of the day, sometimes I just want to watch the special features. So just give me a menu so I can watch the special features. I don't think this actually has okay, here's a menu with just a list of features. I recall I actually because I have that whole fear of missing out thing. I was afraid that, I played the Labyrinth, but I was so afraid that I missed something because Nightmare on Elm Street is like my favorite horror franchise. So I was like, I need to see it all. So I looked up some walkthrough back in the day to make sure I saw each and every single video clip. Um, so yeah, I lean more towards just give me a damn menu, but I do appreciate the effort into theming that they expended on that special feature. It's actually, come to think of it, it might be specifically a DVD-ROM feature. It might not actually. It's something you have to work on. It doesn't work in a DVD player on your TV. You might have to do it on your PC. I don't remember, but there you go. Um, you have the Blu-ray Nightmare set. Yeah, this is a old DVD set. Really old, very old. It does. This came out prior to at least the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I don't know if Freddy vs. Jason was out yet. Uh, Freddy vs. Jason was like early 2000. This might be late 90s. I'm not really sure. Um, yeah, that werewolf says I get lost looking for the music video for Dream Warriors. Well, now you could just look it up on YouTube, but probably. But yeah, sometimes you just want to watch that video and it's like, oh God, where is it? Just give me a damn menu. Maybe if it's the thing where it was like you had a menu but everything was locked until you found it, you know, something like that. It might be a little bit more palatable, but that's the thing though. Not everything you try is going to work. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try new things, because you never know where the next big awesome thing is going to come from. So, I think that is it for tonight. So tomorrow we are going to try streaming a video game. I believe I'll be, Trails in the Sky. We'll pick that back up. I don't remember what I was doing in that game. But I did have to rebuild my controller config. So I'm glad I did some testing earlier in the week, make sure that the game would turn on, make sure it was run, make sure I could play it, because when I first turned it on, all the buttons were wrong, and I stepped outside of the Bracers Guild, and the camera just spinning around. I'm like, no! Actually, the first thing that happened was when I plugged my PS4 controller into my PC, what I didn't realize is I plugged that in and I started the game and the controls were all messed up and there was no sound. And it took me a little bit to realize that when I plugged my controller into my PC for the first time, it defaulted to the controller as my audio device because it has a speaker in it. And I didn't realize it did that. So I had to manually change my default speaker settings to get it off of the controller so I could actually hear the game sounds. But I actually ended up, instead of trying to figure out because the controller configuration tool lists, it's genericized, so it lists, it says button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4. Do you know which button 1 is? I'm sure it's one of these. I don't know which one. You can look it up. But, when I slaved my old hard drive, I just found the config file in the old Steam folder and just dragged that over, so that worked. So I didn't have to worry about it. But anyway, join me tomorrow at noon Pacific Standard Time, and we'll see if this graphics card can stand streaming a video game. I'm looking forward to it because... oh man, I've been wanting to get back into Trails since last November, so it'll be nice to get back into it. So I hope you'll join me. So take care, everyone. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.